Did you know that 6,500 plant species grow in California? In every step we take into the natural world, there is hidden diversity rooted within our surroundings. From an artist standpoint, I am constantly fascinated by the contours of different plants, the vibrant colors saturated within individual petals, and the natural consistency of leaf venation. In essence, my curiosity for flora intersects with my passion for visual art. I'm Marissa, and today I will be sharing my month-long process of painting Crystal's newest mural, In Bloom. If you know me, you have probably seen my drawings. Flowers and leaves are a common motif. Plant life is a subject I gravitate towards because I find a lot of freedom in having the chance to create my patterns and color schemes. Flowers are alive, and yet I can capture them in stillness while bending their shapes and interpretations. The idea of painting a mural for my senior project has been in my periphery probably since I started taking art at Crystal. While I have some experience with painting, I've never worked extensively with the medium, and I've never done large-scale painting before. Having the chance to take my art to a new level by working with a new medium on a new scale is a big leap forward in my creative process. The two UN Sustainable Development Goals I chose to focus on are peace and justice in strong institutions and life on land. Awareness of the environment and local landscapes can intersect with the production of art. Considered to be the quote, democratic art form, murals promote community pride and a commitment to justice, as they have an educational role in helping to clarify or expand group values. Because murals are established in the public sphere in everyday locations, they promote accessibility. With my intention to promote peace and inclusivity at all levels, I believe my piece can achieve building connections between the people within the Crystal community. By including a variety of different plants in my painting, I hope to gain more knowledge about my local area and spread awareness of the constant diversity overlooked in our natural surroundings. Promoting a peaceful and inclusive space is always a work in progress, but I believe student art helps develop an encouraging atmosphere that brightens up a space. As a mediocre green thumb, I did not have much experience with identifying plants besides a hodgepodge of a camper's guide to local plants. To begin my official fieldwork for my mural, I researched what I could about 14 plant species thriving in Crystal's gardens around campus to the best of my ability. I'd photograph the plant, do a lot of Googling, then go to the California Native Plant Society's inventory website, Calscape, to learn about local vegetation. Did you know that the wisteria growing in the commons is actually an invasive species in 19 states? Its vines grow counterclockwise, tightly wrapping around trees and damaging native flora and habitats. The more I took note of the plants on campus, I realized that I did not need to study local flora extending across the entire Bay Area, as I had originally planned. Narrowing down my subject honed down my attention and would help develop a design more specific to Crystal's campus. The level of observation helped me from an artist perspective as I studied natural colors and organic lines. For me, the most difficult aspect of any art project is starting. Therefore, I often compile examples of inspiration. The first mural I saved was El Devenir by Lichen, located in Rome. The bright colors caught my eyes first. They complement each other well, it's vibrant but not overwhelming, and it's outlined in blue so there's no true black. Because it's a full spread of flowers, there's no background because it already acts more as a pattern backdrop, similar to what I wanted for my mural. I planned to lay down color and shape, then add line work on top. I wanted to emulate a similar style of line work that's not hyper-realistic. The second mural I liked was made by one of my favorite artists, Arise, who painted a series in Paris. I love the limited pastel color scheme of this painting in particular. It consists of muted tones, and the dynamic is very active and bright. The organic lines of the people over the geometric shapes elevate the foreground to show a level of depth. While this isn't the same subject that I would cover in my own mural, I knew I wanted to utilize a limited amount of colors for aesthetic and practical purposes. In Mexico, Leopoldo Flores' stained glass mural is stunning. It's not the same medium as my mural, but the idea of creating a mosaic of color, shape, and light is so intricate and cool to me. He used solid colors that don't blend. Different shades make the illusion of blending, and the black lines are thin enough to not interrupt the flow of light. When I saved this image, I wanted to use a stylized technique to depict shadows and light without blending color for my project. When lighting is applied incorrectly, it's noticeably disconcerting. There is a sense of permanence, boldness, and detail in developing shapes of solid color to create the feeling of there being slight dimension. My last mural of inspiration is David Gwynn's Garden of Delight, located in Philadelphia, one of the coolest murals I've ever seen. It depicts a stylized garden where the colors spill out and flow freely, reminiscent of watercolor. It blends into the actual garden below, and not everything's rendered in full detail. The main aspect of inspiration I took from this piece was the fact that I wanted to incorporate the colors and plants from my natural surroundings at Crystal into the composition, but much more stylized. Combining all those creative aspects, I drew out 3 potential thumbnails with color schemes, and I decided on my first sketch, a garden spread of flowers that could work as an explosion of color to brighten up the wall. I chose to draw Japanese camellia, which I had a picture of near the back of the mansion, Pacific rhododendron that I found near the art studio, gum rock roses I saw outside the front gates, and common daisies you can find anywhere. For the leaves, I used the shape of Highland dog hobble and gum rock roses again. In drawing out the final thumbnail, I thought of my title, In Bloom. It sounded fitting for an educational space. Students are growing and learning, but they're not in full bloom yet. Putting the title in all caps with an exclamation point was just my attempt at enthusiasm for growth, but you don't need a shout to say the title. As a concept, painting a mural sounds like you just need paint, paintbrushes, fine charcoal, water, and a wall. Because I was lucky enough to get a majority of my supplies at school, I didn't thoroughly think about the materials I needed ahead of time, probably my biggest stumble. The other supplies I actually needed were a projector, a tarp, a hammer, a ladder, etc. I also needed to purchase the paint colors I didn't have. Setting up a workspace is more time consuming than I ever anticipated, especially when school is back in full swing and you encounter technical difficulties, which call for a lot of adapting. On the first day of working on the wall, the projector needed a replacement light bulb and it wasn't dark enough to reject my sketch. I ended up spending 6 hours at school just looking for tape, a large tarp, and a different projector. That's when I realized that prep work is just as important as doing the actual deliverable for a large installation, and that I would have to adjust my schedule if I wanted to be done on time. Okay, so I just finished my drawing, My hands are caked in charcoal, but I just finished drawing out, I sketched out the whole design. Mostly it's just like a garden view of a bunch of flowers that I found around Crystal. From there, painting this entire mural took approximately 75 plus hours of me working on the wall. The beginning of my mural was the most challenging aspect. When starting with a blank canvas, there's so much freedom in what to paint and the colors to mix and choose. So I worked with one color at a time, and I started with different shades of green for the grass in the background, and built up from there. As I painted the grass, I kept adding more colors than I'd originally planned, because I was going with what I felt looked right. The design and style of my mural worked well in terms of my ability and efficiency, because I could break down my mural into chunks of color, making consistent progress whenever I finished using a shade. Okay, this is day 3 of me working on the wall, and right now I just painted the greens. There's 2 types of greens on the wall that I mixed myself. And it's been pretty physically taxing, which I did not anticipate. But this is what it looks like so far. And the wall is pretty big, so it's taking a really long time. But I really like how it looks so far, and I like the colors that I chose. The lines are pretty rough right now. They're not very clean, but that's because I'm going to be outlining my whole composition with blue paint. And the blue paint isn't absolute black, so it's still gonna brighten up the picture while also defining the different details and like showing different line work. So this is my update, day 3. Painting is something I knew that I was capable of doing because I'm not completely new to art. But painting at a large scale for long periods of time was surprisingly taxing, physically and mentally. The actual process of mixing paint and then painting on the wall was pretty soothing, but it does become monotonous when going through the same motions with the same colors hours on end. For the most part, I made up my paint palette on the spot, because I deviated from my original thumbnail. That's how I ended up with painting with beige and teal-hued greens for the grass. Hi, it is Monday, May 17, and so it's a whole new week, and I did a lot of work today. I came in at 8 a.m. and I've been able to make a lot of progress because this is like the first time I've been able to work for a really long period of time uninterrupted. And so I was able to finish all the green of the background, like the leaves. And I just started doing the actual plants in the foreground. So it's pretty successful. I think I'm used to it now because I have all the paints that I need and all the supplies. I know where to get like extra mixing buckets and like mixing sticks. So I haven't really needed to ask anyone for help for supplies or anything, and that has also been it has helped me become more productive because now I'm just focusing on making the product. So this is what I have so far. Using the correct paint is also an aspect of mural making I was unaware of. There's exterior and interior paint, glossy, semi-gloss, and flat paint. I had to go to Home Depot twice because I wasn't sure what type of paint to get the first time around. The paint I found at Crystal that's often used for theater productions was matte, therefore my grass background was flat. While the mural has decent protection from the elements because it's under a roof, I decided to get semi-gloss paint for the plants in the foreground to add both extra protection and texture. While the leaves in the foreground are glossy, the other shades mixed with white get increasingly less reflective. Hi, it is Tuesday, May 18th, and I just finished painting for the day. I started the leaves, as you can see, and I basically just continued them. But it's looking pretty good, and I think I'll be able to finish the painting by this week, and I think I will outline the lines. I was considering outlining everything, but now I think I'll just outline the plants in the foreground and not the grass, because I think the grass looks really cool when they have 4 different shades of green. And the leaves in the foreground, while they are semi-gloss, so like there's some contrast in certain lighting, the colors still blend in. So I think I'll outline it to make them pop a bit more. Another area of debate was whether I would outline my mural in blue, as I had originally planned. The more I painted, the more I worried about meeting the deadline. I liked how my mural was looking without any outlining. I just needed to clean up lines and highlight the flowers in my foreground. As a solution, Miss Matosian suggested I outline my flowers with white. At first, I was a little dubious about it, and decided to try using a sense of negative space for the common daisies instead. I painted those entire flowers, including the stems, a pale blue that appears more white, and I decided to just leave them as they were for the moment. I wanted to emulate the look of shape and space that I actually kind of liked from my incomplete mural. But when I first painted the Pacific rhododendron buds in the lower middle of my mural, I knew I needed to highlight their shape. They were pinkish red, green's opposing color, so they should stand out, but I had used some green to mix into the pink so that my whole mural took on a muted color palette. Even with just a few thin strokes of white paint, I noticed that the flowers were more visible and slightly dimensional. From there, I decided to do a white outline on the other Japanese camellias and the gum rock roses. The effect of outlining the camellias in white reminded me of stained glass. Hello, it is Monday, May 24th, and I basically finished my mural, or at least, yeah, I painted everything. It's been a pretty long day, and I have paint all over myself, but this is my project. Today I painted these 4 flowers and also these 3 or 4 over here. And I did some touch-ups around for the grass because there's some white spots. And I found a step stool so I could reach here. So I could reach the top corner up here because there's a step here. So I finally got a solution for getting the top left corner of this wall because that was something I was putting off for a long time because Miss Matosian actually suggested that I paint with a paintbrush attached to an extended pole or stick so I could reach it, but I thought that was pretty imprecise, and then I realized a step stool would work just fine because there was enough room. Anyways, I'm actually pretty happy. Hello, it is Wednesday, May 26th, and I have completed my senior project mural. And wow, it took so long, so many hours. Today was my last painting day, and I got here at 6:55 a.m. before the gate was open. Like, I was here when Mr. Pollock drove up and opened the gate for the first time, which is crazy. And it is now 6:34 p.m. I'm leaving at 7 p.m. So I've been here for basically 12 hours, and I ate for probably an hour, so 11 hours of work today of just painting. It was mostly just touch-ups because there's a lot of like white spaces that I left, and I finally made a decision to make these false asters or slash daisies or whatever to be light purple. I added some shading to the petals, and then I made the pollen in the center yellow and orange, similar to these ones. I did try out blue in the middle just to like try it to maybe blend in the blue that's seen in the grass in the background, but it didn't really work out. So I decided just to do yellow, and I think it turned out really nice. Today, one of the biggest things that I just discovered is that I don't think I took care of my paintbrushes correctly. I used 3 brushes throughout this whole mural, and mostly these really small ones because I really like working with like more precise lines. But the thing I discovered is that I painted so much that my paintbrush disintegrated. It's supposed to look like this, but this is the one I used mainly, and I started using this one today, but this is what I use for the majority of my mural. And it disintegrated, which is unfortunate. I searched it up, and I guess I just didn't take care of my brushes correctly in that I didn't really clean them with mineral spirits because I didn't really have that much access to the studio when all the classes are going on, and I didn't want to take mineral spirits out because I think it's flammable. But anyways, also because the rough surface of the wall, not only is it brick, but it's like uneven brick, so that has a lot of like tension and just really grating effect on the brush. And also my paint palette is just layers of paint. It's pretty bumpy and it's not smooth at all, so that's also why it might have like cut off. And maybe because I also left my brushes in water sometime, because since I didn't get mineral spirits from the studio, I like soaked my brushes in water, and that might have weakened the brush. So that I learned something new. And I did use this one in the beginning for like the big background for the blades of grass, but after I finished the background, these were more practical, or not practical, but more detailed. But I'm really happy with my project. I loved painting this, even though it was extremely tiring and it really tested my patience at points. I don't know if I'll ever paint a mural again, but I'm really happy to say that I have painted a mural now. And I'm really glad that it's in like the school community that people can see. I'm most excited to like clean up. I have this whole setup here. All my paints, and there's plastic on the floor, and I can't wait to peel off the plastic and the tape. Knowing that I spent around 75 hours in total physically working on the wall shows me that I'm capable of working on large-scale projects when I completely dedicate myself to them. In the past, art has been my private form of escapism and a creative outlet in between all of my academics and extracurriculars. While I have dedicated extensive time to art projects before, I've never dedicated almost all of my time to a large creative endeavor. It is mentally exhausting to do the same type of painting for so long, but I'm really proud of myself for putting in the time and the effort. I noticed my indecisiveness during some parts of my work, but I was able to find solutions and complete my project early. Painting this mural outside taught me a lot about the impact of public art within a greater community. It's gratifying when freshmen I've never met before, or classmates I don't get the chance to talk to often, let me know about their thoughts on my painting. When members of Crystal's faculty and staff, like the history teachers or math teachers that work nearby, tell me they appreciate my project, I can't help feeling satisfied that my art has created a positive impact on that little corner of Crystal. While this mural was an individual project, painting has allowed me to connect with others, as well as develop my own artistic technique and style. I'm so glad to have the opportunity to leave a mark on Crystal's campus, even if it will just be a few years until the next artist comes along.